Hi, I'm Amelia and I'm 6 years old.
Hi, I'm Zosha and I'm 8 years old.
Hi everyone, this is Mommy.
What's up, everyone? I'm Daddy.
And you're listening to
It's Movie Night.
And this week we're talking about
the Harry Potter franchise.
Warner Brothers put out these movies from 2001 to 2011. They range from PG to PG-13, and altogether they have a runtime of 1,179 minutes, which is about 20 hours. Mm-hmm. Some other family-friendly movies that Warner Brothers has put out throughout this decade were Speed Racer, Inkheart, My Dog Skip, and Elf.
Amelia, what would you say these movies are all about?
it's about Harry and his friends trying to stop Voldemort.
That's exactly what it's about. Just stopping Voldemort from rising to power.
Some familiar faces. We talked about Harry, Hermione, Ron, Hagrid, and Snape in our Sorcerer's Stone episode, so let's show some love to other cast members throughout the franchise. We have Lord Voldemort, played by Ralph Fiennes. He is Ramesses in The Prince of Egypt. Victor Quartermain in Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. He plays Alfred in the Lego Batman movie.
I was surprised by that one. I did not know that one.
Neither did I. That's a good one. In Parents, you may know him as Christopher Marshall in Made in Manhattan, or Amon Goeth in Schindler's List. Now, talking about being a villain in a movie. That is a villain.
Very much so.
Professor McGonagall is played by Dame Maggie Smith. She is Granny Wendy in Hook, Mother Superior in The Sister Act, Lady Blueberry in Romeo and Juliet. In Parents, you may know her as Violet Crawley in Downton Abbey, which is a more adult show, but you can watch that around children.
Okay.
Just so you're aware.
I don't like that time period, so I won't do that.
It's a good period piece. And then we have Draco Malfoy.
I like him.
You do. You said he was one of your favorites. He is played by Tom Felton. He is P. Green Clock in The Borrowers, Dodge Landon from The Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and he's also Julian Albert in Season 3 of The Flash. Some other characters worth mentioning are Gary Oldman as Sirius Black, who you might recognize as Gordon from the Batman movies.
Lieutenant James Gordon, yep.
Yes. David Tennant as Barty Crouch, who our Doctor Who fans definitely know. Warwick Davis as Griphook, who, if we have some Willow fans, he is Willow. And Domhnall Gleeson as Bill Weasley, who we talked about on our Peter Rabbit episode.
He's so good in that movie as Mr. McGregor.
So good. And people really like him in the Star Wars movies, too.
He is. He's an awesome General Hux. And then there are 4 different directors in this franchise. Harry Potter 1 and 2 were directed by Chris Columbus. He did Home Alone, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Pixels, just to name a few. Alfonso Cuarón did Part 3, and he did Children of Men and Gravity. Haven't seen either of these movies, but I know that they are, people hold them high. And then Mike Newell did Part 4, so Goblet of Fire, and he directed Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time. Haven't seen that movie either.
I've not either.
And then David Yates did Part 5 through 8, and he also did the Fantastic Beasts film. So there is a consistency in how these movies look with him. And the only movie that David Yates did outside of these movies were The Legend of Tarzan, which I did not see that movie, and Pain Hustlers on Netflix. Didn't see that either.
No.
Yep.
He's just the Harry Potter guy.
He's the Harry Potter guy, yes. So going forward in this episode, there are going to be spoilers. So if you haven't seen the franchise, I'd click away right now. Come back after you've seen them all.
However, this franchise has been finished for over a decade, so where are you at?
Yes. So, Mommy, for our Sorcerer's Stone episode, we didn't have these questions. Did you see these movies in theaters, or how many did you see in theaters?
Every single one of them.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
I did not see the first one. I did see the second one, and then I left for a while and came back for, I don't know, the last 2 or 3.
Yeah, I had gotten the books when they came out in the shout-out Scholastic Book Fair back in the day, and my parents knew I loved them, so when they started coming out, these were one of the things that we went to the theater for.
Was this a whole family event, or was it like you and your mom, you and your dad?
My mom and dad.
Okay,
yeah,
so they were both
and,
interested.
Yeah, they both brought me to see them, but as I got older and, grew up as well, I took myself.
Okay.
So, like, the last half of these movies, I went to see them with friends.
Okay, cool. Girls, do you have any interest in reading these books at all?
No, not really.
No, not really. Okay, how about you, Amelia?
No.
No.
Or is it because you don't want to read them yourself, or do you want me to read them to you?
I want you to read them, Mommy.
That's what I thought. Well, it's a good thing. I have all the, I have the normal books, but we also have most of the illustrated editions.
The ones that are released, we do have.
Yes.
They haven't released them all yet.
So I can read those. Those would be a lot better. They have pictures.
Yeah. So one of the things I want to bring up about these movies is that a few of them are nominated for Oscars. A lot of them are nominated for the same things, like art direction, but there are a few that stuck out. So like costume design was Sorcerer's Stone. I think the costumes are pretty consistent throughout the entire franchise, and they do look pretty cool. So I think they deserve that nod.
Yes, they go along with the world building wonderfully.
Another one is the original score, which is very obvious.
Yes, Hedwig's theme.
Yes, because John Williams does the first movie. He might do the second one as well, but it's the only one that got nominated
He
for
still
original.
started it all.
Yes, he did start it all. He laid down the groundwork for everybody else. Visual effects, I don't agree with this for the first couple movies. Like when Neville is on the broom and he's going wild, it looks so silly.
I agree, but that's to today's standards. At the time, when I was 9 years old watching that, I was like, oh my God,
Yeah, I don't even know about that, because if I think of movies like Spider-Man came out around this time, like 2002, it's like, yeah, that was an awesome movie. The visual effects look great, but you want to compare Harry Potter to it?
But when I saw it at 9,
I don't know.
it doesn't hold up. I'll agree with that.
The last ones look awesome. Like, we'll talk about this later on, but the fight between Voldemort and
The dueling.
and Dumbledore, like, I said the same. Oh, no, I said Voldemort and Dumbledore. Yeah, that looks really cool. It's a lot of cool stuff in here. The cinematography was nominated for Half-Blood Prince. I don't really see any great cinematography in any of these movies. I think it's fairly, like...
Things get a lot darker in Half-Blood Prince as opposed to Order of the Phoenix, because there's dark things happening in Order of the Phoenix, but everything's still very light and bubbly with Umbridge. And I think you see that big shift in cinematography with Half-Blood Prince. So I would agree with that.
I don't think it's worth an Oscar nomination. It wasn't enough camera work for me. And then the last one is makeup, which was for Deathly Hallows 2. I'm trying to think of, like, what like Bellatrix Lestrange, like Voldemort. Voldemort looked consistent throughout.
Unless they were talking about the age up, like the epilogue with the 19 years from now. Maybe they did a good job with the aging of some of these.
I couldn't be from that, because I know a lot of people had a problem with that. We'll
I thought they looked silly.
as well. But but yeah, those were the Oscar nominations, and I just want to bring them up, see if anybody, well, specifically you, because the girls aren't paying attention to those things when they watch movies.
No, but I do love seeing anything from novels or sci-fi and superheroes getting nominated for Oscars, because no, they're not these big dramatic moving pieces, but they hold so much weight.
We do need a nerd type Oscar type thing. Like, not even just for the Oscars. Just give us our own award show.
Yeah.
Speaking of the epilogue, this goes right into our next talking point. It was widely disliked. I guess a lot of people just weren't satisfied with how they looked and how it set the whole thing off. I thought it was beautiful.
I liked it. I liked that it showed that everybody has moved on from all these teenage tragedies that they went through. Everybody grew up, settled down, had kids, and now it is the new generation's turn to go to Hogwarts.
Girls, how did you feel about, like, the very last scene of the very last movie where you see Harry's older and Hermione and Ron? Did you like seeing that, or do you wish that you would have just left it at...
They beat Voldemort.
Yeah, they beat Voldemort.
I like when they're older.
Okay, how about you, Amelia?
I like when they're older.
You like when they're older. Okay, so, I don't know, maybe the younger generation likes this.
All in all, I don't understand why people are so upset with the epilogue outside of the makeup. That, okay, I understand. The wigs, the fat suit, it was all kind of ridiculous. Like, we're getting to be Daddy just turned 34. We're 34 and 32, and these guys look like, what is going on? Like,
they don't look that much older. I think it's that they didn't look old enough. And it's like, no, I mean, people have kids at young ages. We're 34 and 32.
Yes.
and we got young kids. Like, it's all good. I'm not going to look super old if Zosha was going to Hogwarts at her first year at, like, what, age 11 or something like that?
Yeah, it's only a couple years from now. I don't think we'll look that different. So I think, they tried too hard to make them look older, and it was just very aware that they were wearing costumes.
One of my favorite things about the epilogue scene, that very end scene, I liked seeing Malfoy there. And
Yes.
Harry getting, like, that little nod, like, hey, man, we're cool, right?
Yes,
like,
because he
after all
does
these years.
redeem himself.
He does. Draco does have a really cool arc towards the end of these movies. And then my other favorite thing was when, and this, I'm sure this is in the book as well, and even the Malfoy might have been in the book as well, but I really like when Harry says Albus Severus Potter, like, gives the full name, and you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I'm gonna get tears just because
All his children have nods to people who have passed. There's a Lily, there's a reference to Lupin, all of them Sirius.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
it's just so
It's
good.
good.
So a question that I want to ask you all is that if you can get one movie, like a side story, what would you want it to be? And for reference for the girls, the movie that I would want would be like, I don't know, a side quest of Snape. I want to see Snape getting in with Voldemort and getting cool, but you kind of get that backstory of how he's actually working for Dumbledore the whole time, and then that night of him going to the Potter's house. Like, I want that story. I want more Snape.
How did he become a Death Eater in the first place?
Yeah, like how he earned that trust. Like, that's the movie that I want. So, Amelia, is there a movie that you would want?
I want to see Harry and their kids at Hogwarts.
Oh, okay. Do you think Harry would be a teacher at Hogwarts now?
No.
Do you think that would be cool if he was a teacher at Hogwarts?
No.
Okay, then I'm just gonna
I think Hermione would be a professor. Come on now.
Ooh, that would be really cool.
She's the best.
I don't even know what Harry would do in the future. Like, does he work for the ministry?
Sells insurance.
He just teaches soccer. He moved out from Quidditch and he teaches soccer. How about you, Molly? What kind of movie would you want to see?
I would want to see Lily. There's always that talk that, you know, yes, a prequel of Lily and how she got her letter because she was the only one in her family that was magical. So, like, how did that come to be? Because obviously her and her sister don't have a really good relationship.
Yeah.
And then her meeting Snape because she's known Snape since she was a little girl. So I want to see their friendship. I want to see her go to Hogwarts and meet James. Like, how did you end up picking James over Snape? Like, I want to see these things.
Yeah.
I think that would be a really good series.
I think it would be
or
cool.
Movie, either one.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool to add on to that, to see like Professor Lupin and them come in there as well, because they were
all friends.
Yeah, they were all friends. I think that'd be a super cool maybe series. I'll watch that series.
Yeah, so it's like centered around Lily, but you are going to see all these other characters grow up together. Like how did all these people end up intermingling?
That would be cool. I like that idea. Zosha, what would you like to see become a Harry Potter movie or show?
I want to see how Snape turns into the Half-Blood Prince.
Oh, okay. So that'd be cool. That was a shocking moment for you guys, because when we were watching it, I was like, I kept asking you guys, who do you think the Half-Blood Prince is? And I think you guys kept saying different things. I can't remember who you said, but when it was finally revealed that Snape was the Half-Blood Prince,
They said Malfoy at one point.
yes, that's right. They did say Malfoy, and they both were like, oh, it was a big gasp moment for sure.
I think I said Voldemort, I think
Okay.
I said
You did.
Voldemort.
You did think it was Tom Riddle's book.
Man, that was so funny. It was a good moment.
Lots of twists and turns in the Harry Potter series.
That's for sure.
So we had already discussed some of these in our Sorcerer's Stone episode, but I want to talk about favorite scenes. We're going to mention them again, though. Diagon Alley, the Sorting Hat, the first Quidditch game, the Wizard's Chess. I even just loved the broom class.
Okay.
Something that you wouldn't even think about. Like, oh, of course they would need to learn how to ride a broomstick.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they? It's such amazing world building.
It really is. So, like, to go through some of these scenes, Harry fighting the basilisk in Chamber of Secrets, that was an awesome scene. I remember, because I said this is one that I saw in theaters, I remember seeing that in theaters being like, wow. And I would have given that one, like, best visual effects, because that basilisk looks awesome. It looks real.
Yeah, scared me.
Girls, did the basilisk scare you? The big snake?
No.
Didn't scare you, Zosha? Okay. How about you, Amelia?
No.
No? Okay.
I think another good visual effect is Dobby.
Dobby looks okay.
He gets better as it goes on, for sure.
Yeah.
But even for something that's not there, I still think he looks good.
He does look good. And then his scenes are great as well. Like, he's just a good character. I love when he gets free at the end of Chamber of Secrets. Dobby,
Master has given Dobby a sock.
it's such a good scene. It's so heartwarming.
Master has given Dobby a sock.
What? I didn't...
Master has presented Dobby with clothes. Dobby is free.
And then this scene at the very end of Chamber of Secrets actually brought me to tears. And I had probably seen Chamber of Secrets maybe
Numerous times.
8 or 9 times in my life, I want to say. And it's when Hagrid comes back after being in Azkaban, because he goes away. And when he comes back and he looks at Harry, Ron, and Hermione, and he like thanks them for solving this, I guess, mystery of this movie. And he just thanks them because he would still be in there if it wasn't for them. And it was just very heartwarming for me. And it did move me to tears the last time that I watched this movie.
I'd just like to say that if it hadn't been for you, Harry, and Ron, and Hermione, of course, I would, I'd still be you know where. So I'd just like to say Thanks.
There's no Hogwarts without you, Hagrid.
It's like Papa Hagrid.
Yeah.
He's just so wholesome.
I don't have a favorite scene from the second one, but it's the scariest one for me.
What scared you in it?
The blood on the wall and the cat.
Yeah, poor Mrs. Norris and all the petrified people.
How about the spiders? There's spiders in that movie.
Oh, that's creepy.
I love Ron's reactions to the spiders, though. Such good acting.
Yeah, because they're real reactions.
Yes.
Seeing a 10-foot spider, we'd all be, yes.
We're not Australian. We can't handle that.
We're not Hugh Jackman. Yep.
I like in part 2 when Harry Potter was stabbing the book and then that guy was floating away.
Yeah, he defeats it with the basilisk tooth, right?
Yeah.
The fang, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
For Prisoner of Azkaban, the third movie, I really like everything regarding the Shrieking Shack.
Yeah.
Even just like the dreams and the premonitions, if you will, that Harry's having. It's all so well done. It's eerie, it's creepy, it's very climatic. I like it. And I know you love the time travel. So.
Yes, the time travel in this movie is just awesome. Like Hermione throwing the rock at herself, or she hits rock. I think she hits Harry. I think she is who she hits. She's the back of his head or something like that. The Patronus charm being used and trying to figure out like who did that. It's just crazy, and that circles all the way to the last movie. The big reveal for this movie, though, in the Shrieking Shack was that Sirius Black is not a bad guy, and that Lupin and them were all friends, like we had just mentioned earlier. Like that was just an awesome scene. I remember,
and Ron's rat isn't really his rat.
Yeah. I remember reading this book for the first time, and I was in the backseat of the van. I was laying down, and we were going to Buca de Beppo. Like this is how impactful this scene was for me. Just reading the book was I remember where I
smell the garlic as we pulled into the parking lot.
Yeah, Buca de Beppo is an Italian place in our area for listeners, and yeah, it was just an amazing scene. So when I saw it on screen, I was like, wow, they pulled it off. I didn't like so much that they took a lot of the book out of the movie, but when seeing it as a movie, I still enjoyed it.
They kept the good parts.
They did.
My favorite scene from part 3 is when they're in the classroom and they have to turn something that they're afraid of to something funny.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember the word they have to say, the spell?
Ridiculous.
Yep.
Good job. Yeah, that is a funny scene. Did you have a favorite part?
It was the one with Snape in the granny clothes.
In the dress?
Yeah. Who was afraid of Snape? Do you remember?
I do.
I think it was Neville.
Was it Neville or was it Ron?
I think it was Ron.
Okay.
No, because Ron doesn't like spiders.
Oh, you're
that's
right.
Very good job.
Good job, Sosha. So then, yes, it is Neville.
That is a very good scene. I love it. Part 4 is the Goblet of Fire, and
Just all of it. I love all the games.
Most of the games are pretty cool. It does introduce some of the scarier parts of the movie, and this is where we get to see some real death in this series.
R.I.P. Cedric.
Yep, R.I.P.
That's my son! That's my boy!
But yeah, it all around is a really good movie. It's weird that I can't talk more about it because
it would just be too much. It would be us just talking out the whole movie, and we don't have 2 hours to do that. Okay.
Yeah. And then we go into Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, and
where we see that shift of power as the Death Eaters come back.
There are some iconic scenes and scenes worth noting, but none that are oh man, that was my favorite one. I have a favorite scene from that.
We already talked about the reveal of the Half-Blood Prince, which was probably one of the biggest ones.
We do get the iconic scene that I mentioned earlier, which was Dumbledore versus Voldemort at or the Ministry of Magic or something. Where they're
Order
at.
of the Phoenix.
Yeah, that's a really cool scene. But now let's move on to the Deathly Hallows, which has some awesome scenes in it.
The story of the Deathly Hallows itself, one of my favorite parts, and it goes into more of an animation style for the storytelling, and it's wonderful.
It's really cool, and it's a cool story that they have, because it's treated as a fairy tale.
It's out of a children's book, and Hermione reads the story.
There were once 3 brothers who were traveling along a lonely, winding road at twilight. In time, the brothers reached a river too treacherous to pass. But being learned in the magical arts, the three brothers simply waved their wands and made a bridge. Before they could cross, however, they found their path blocked by a hooded figure. It was Death, and he felt cheated.
It's creepy at times, but it also makes sense. And then you're piecing it together in your head that these Deathly Hallows, we have seen them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the wand we've seen throughout time, because what is the wand, Zosha? Who has that wand?
Dumbledore.
Yes, Dumbledore has that thing.
The Elder Wand.
Yes, he has the Elder Wand. And then where have we seen the Cloak of Invisibility?
At Christmas time.
Well, yeah, Harry gets it for Christmas, and we've seen it throughout the entire series. I think it probably shows up in every single one of these movies.
Yep.
And then we find out that the Resurrection Stone has actually been on Hogwarts property the entire time, because it's been in the golden snitch that Harry caught in the very first movie.
Yep.
It's just awesome. Like, just nice tiebacks to this story.
It also goes to prove, like, Dumbledore wanted to shake things up, man. He had all the power.
I don't know why he didn't.
Because he's a good soul.
But he could have just ended this all, like, so much earlier.
True. This is true. He could have stepped in and probably been like, nah, Voldemort. But he still had to find all the Horcruxes, which brings me to another point. I love all the Horcrux hunting in the Deathly Hallows.
Yeah. It kind of feels gypped that I think like 2 or 3 of them we don't get to see.
Yeah, we brush over them.
But it still was cool.
Because, I mean, even just thinking about it, what an impossible task. Like, hey, find these 7 things that could be literally anything.
If you could have one of the Horcruxes like displayed in our house, which one would you want? There's like the necklace, there's the tiara, there's the chalice, I think, that they find in Gringotts Bank, and then they also have, well, you can't have Harry Potter.
Or Nagini. I don't want Nagini in this house.
Yeah.
I think the book would look really cool, especially when they show that
Tom
scene.
Riddle's diary.
Yeah, Tom Riddle's diary. They show that scene with the basilisk fang like stabbed into it. Like, I think that would look pretty sweet.
That'd be kind of cool. I don't think I would want a Horcrux, but I do think that I would like to be in possession of the Hogwarts sword. Or no, what is it called?
Gryffindor, Sword of Gryffindor.
Sword of Gryffindor. Yeah, that's a pretty cool display piece to have
above the mantle.
Exactly.
Me and my auntie like this scene. It's when Mrs. McGonagall is doing a spell and all the knights in the castle come to life.
Yeah.
And it's guarding the castle, and Mrs. McGonagall says, I always wanted to use that spell.
That is a very good scene. I love that scene too.
It's just so cool the way that they just like jump down, like boom, and they like hit the ground and walk out. It's epic.
They do a superhero landing.
Yes, the knights do. It's really cool because they're at this dark moment where they have to defend the castle from all these different Death Eaters, and there's going to be a huge war that happens. And she tells them, she's like, defend this castle, do what you were here to do. And it's like, man, this is about to get crazy up in here. Like, it's a really good scene.
I like that scene too.
Yeah, that is a very good scene. And then probably one of the biggest, most iconic scenes of this entire movie
franchise.
Yeah, the entire franchise is the Snape reveal. And it's that Snape has been a good guy the entire time. He's been looking after Harry since the very first movie.
He's the one who found Harry.
He did. He found Harry. He brought him to Hagrid and Dumbledore, and then Hagrid brought him to his uncle and aunt. And you find out that his Patronus is the one that saved him in the forest in Prisoner of Azkaban.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the doe, which is the same as his mom's, and it's just I could tear up right now.
I can't.
Just
like,
explaining this. And he's always been in love with Lily, his mother. It's just
they were best friends, and it's after all this time, always, and you're like.
Yeah, it's just a fantastic scene. It's a great reveal, and you see, obviously, Harry names his kid after Severus Snape, so it comes to show that he got over the fact that he was kind of like lied to the entire time he was there at Hogwarts, and it's beautiful. So
many misconceptions.
Mm-hmm.
The last talk I want to do, just to lighten things up after wanting to cry, is you had mentioned that, they bring him to Dumbledore, who in turn brings him to the Dursleys.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, come on, guys. This boy is neglected and like abused, and not one of you great wizards stepped in to be like, you know what, maybe I'll raise Harry. I know they wanted to raise him away from magic, but was it worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I get it that they wanted to keep him out of there to maybe, you know, hold everything aside and in terms of Voldemort's rise, like making sure that he's put into a house that he will never learn magic. And I don't know who's the one who sent out the letters is the biggest problem here. Like, if you didn't want him to learn about magic, don't send the letters out and we wouldn't have any problems.
They sent the letters out because it was time. It was finally time for him to go to Hogwarts.
Yeah, but if they didn't want him,
age 11.
yeah, but if they didn't want him to learn magic, so that way Voldemort would never feel the need or to rise in any way, shape, or form, then they should have kept him in the dark.
No, they always knew, because even Dumbledore says like this was always his destiny. The moment he became a Horcrux.
I guess if it wasn't Harry, it was going to be Neville, though, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't read that book, so but there is some cool
Neville
story.
needs some justice. We'll get to that in a minute. But still, you couldn't find a nice other English couple to raise Harry Potter. He didn't have to stay with the Dursleys just because they were blood relatives. His life was going to be hard enough once he got into Voldemort land. Now he had a hard childhood too.
I don't know what the rules are in England.
Justice for young Harry.
Let's move on to some positives. I mean, obviously all those scenes are positives, but let's move on to some positives of the entire franchise. The cast, perfectly perfect. They are just so good. Whoever was the casting director for these films did a fantastic job. I can't picture anybody else playing these roles, at the time at least, because we know we're going to be getting a show in the future, and it's going to be hard to recast them, but whoever casted these characters did an awesome job.
Yes, their personas, their personalities, I feel like everything was complemented wonderfully. Another part that I loved is that this cast and the kids particularly act their age and grow with the film. They grow with you, and particularly us, because we were about the same age as all these actors and actresses when the movies came out. So you see them grow up. You see them experience love, angst, make mistakes. The release timeline was pretty consistent with 1 to 2 years between each movie, which was realistic. Like, you really did grow up with these kids.
Yeah, I believe the youngest out of the 3 is Emma Watson. I believe her and I are the same age. So, I mean, like...
Yeah, she's 1990.
Yeah, so this was right up my alley, and your alley as well. Like, being 2 years older isn't nothing at all.
No.
On that note, like, the acting is wonderful. Like, the scene, some of the scenes with Lucius Malfoy, Draco's dad, just so good. He's always just evil. He does a great job. And then one of the scenes with Bellatrix and Hermione is when...
She's, like, torturing Hermione.
Yes, it's super intense. And the screams that Emma Watson does is just amazing.
And the crying.
Yes, so good. And then Draco, like, we had mentioned Draco's... He's a redeemed character... And you don't see that until the end of the franchise, but when he is on screen, you can see that struggle that he's having between wanting to be good and wanting to be bad.
The facial expressions, fear, the shaking, the anxiety, the tears. Like
Tom Felton.
I don't understand how Tom Felton hasn't done more, honestly.
Yeah, very true.
Because, the chops were there.
Pretty much any scene with Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid, he's really good. He's fantastic as Hagrid.
And then to go along with the aging, it's nice that the movies get darker as the plots get darker.
Yeah.
You know, like it matches that level of intensity of what's going on in the story.
If they were solving like Sorcerer's Stone type things by the 7th and 8th movie, you'd be like, come on, guys, like this is kind of silly now. But they're doing some real struggles.
Mm-hmm.
They have to fight the most evil thing in their entire world, which is Voldemort, and they have to find these things to help kill him.
Yeah, they're experiencing loss.
And then you had mentioned the world building.
Oh yeah, it is so detailed. I mean, there's a park dedicated to these films and these books because it is just so meticulous. It's Disney level stuff without being Disney.
I think we talked about it in the Sorcerer's Stone episode that would we want to go there and why we want to ride these rides, and we still haven't done it. It's only been a year. Oh yes, that's right. You have done these things.
I have.
But there are some rides there that you haven't gone yet because they're newer. So.
They made the Gringotts Bank ride, which I hear wonderful things about. But the castle ride, I can't wait for you guys to go on.
I think they just announced a new ride that they're going to be doing pretty soon, which is like the Ministry of Magic, escaping from the Ministry of Magic, something like that. Like it looks pretty cool.
We're gonna hit that up and butterbeers all around. Even though I will say it's not that great. I'm not a big fan of the butterbeer, but just for the experience alone, you have to.
Once Amelia gets to that height to ride everything, we're going.
Get your cloaks and wands ready. As for an overall message of the franchise, I'm going to go with when there is love, good will always conquer evil in the end. It was love from his mother that protected Harry and kept him alive. It was the love between three misfit friends that kept them going as they supported one another. And it was the love of Hogwarts and those who had been lost that ultimately saved the day.
Beautiful. Well said. Love it. So let's jump into some negatives. One of the biggest things I have here is when it does get older, the pacing slows way down. And it's not as entertaining as you want it to be, especially if you want to show a young audience. Like Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, while they are consistent tone-wise, I am so bored watching them. Nothing happens. For me, nothing exciting happens until the last 20 to 30 minutes of the movie. I mean, the fact that all these movies are over 2 hours long, the longest being 2 hours and 40 minutes, is just like, yeah, let's cut some stuff out of here because it doesn't need to be as boring, which is hard to say because
there's also a lot left out from the books.
Exactly. So you want more, but I don't know, maybe it's just not as entertaining. It doesn't transfer, what's the word?
I'd say transfer well from book to screen.
It's, yeah, the pacing's not very good in a couple of these movies.
I'd say especially Order of the Phoenix, things get muddled between book to script.
Yeah, is Order of the Phoenix the one where Neville's introduced as being like he could possibly be the chosen one and not Harry?
No, that is actually revealed in Goblet of Fire. Oh. But still, like, we start learning a lot more about Neville come book 4, and we don't get any of that in the movie.
Okay, so that is its own thing. So yeah, but yeah, the pacing slows way down. Don't know why in Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, but they should fix that.
So yeah, as a whole, Neville just gets sidetracked completely. And it robs of some good things in the book. But I get it. It's understandable. We're going to lose a lot of these goodies from the books because it's just not going to transfer. Or there's just simply not enough time. It's unfortunate. And it's one of the reasons why I am excited for the series that HBO is supposed to come out with. Yeah. Because they can do a whole season dedicated to each book. And we are going to get all of these things. And you can take the time to address all those fun side stories and that oomph that we didn't get in the movies without compromising the time, because you can spread it out versus sitting in a theater. You're not going to sit down and watch a 4 to 5 hour movie.
Most people won't.
No,
yeah.
You know,
that's why you get series.
Exactly. So pros and cons.
Another con that I do have is that I don't feel the deaths that are happening are big enough. So we do get some big deaths like Mad-Eye Moody, Cedric, and Lupin. One of the twins, Fred, Tonks, who I don't even remember. I know who she is, but I'm like, I don't know anything about her. But the biggest ones would be Sirius Black, Dumbledore, Hedwig, I think is a pretty big one.
Yeah, Dobby and Snape, they're too quick. They don't focus on them enough. And I feel like you're losing a lot of potential emotional scenes that could resonate with audiences that you're getting in the book. So, I mean, it goes back to book to movie stuff, but yeah, they brushed over the deaths. Maybe that was to keep them more lighthearted for kids. I don't know.
Maybe. Dumbledore, Hedwig, and Snape are the only ones that were there from the first movie all the way to like the end, which is the ones that would affect you even more. But I think we needed somebody like one of the main three. If one of them would have been taken out, that would have been some serious tears in those theaters, or, you know, I don't know.
Yes, but that doesn't go with the story. Regardless, like, some of these deaths are tragic when you're reading the books. And, like, even Hedwig was so fast in the movie, you were like, what just happened? Like, it negates a lot of it, so...
But for me.
But I get it. I know. Yeah. Maddie likes big losses because unfortunately the world is not all sunshine and rainbows, and that is more realistic that one of these three, odds are one of them would be gone. Another thing I didn't like is, aside from Ron and Hermione, the couples have no chemistry. Like, they kind of suck.
Yeah, they really do.
And I also feel robbed that we didn't get more Hermione and Ron. Like, it was all very coy, which is typical of, like, you know, when you're growing up and you're an adolescent and then going into a teenager. Like, I get it, but I feel like they could have showed a little bit more of that.
I feel like the hints between Ron and Hermione, I was fine with. I was totally cool with, like, little nods. Like, I think there's one of them where she gets scared and she touches Ron's hand, but kind of has that
she grabs his arm.
Yeah, I think that stuff was cool. I like that stuff. But, like, Harry, and I think her name was Cho, and...
Yeah, it was weird.
Especially Harry and Ginny.
Yeah, they have no chemistry.
Oh my gosh. She like walks in and sees him and then walks away. Or she gets like butterflies in her stomach and then runs away. It's just silly. Their relationship.
And I think it was the actors and the actresses like that just... They just didn't have it.
They didn't have what Ron and Hermione had, which is, and I know you don't want to do that because Ginny's basically a child in the first couple movies.
Yeah, but not really. She's only a couple years younger. It'd be like you and me. Like it's a bigger difference when you're 11 and 9 versus when you're 17 and 15. But
those last 4 movies is where they should have been paving the way of like, hey, this is the person he's going to end up with. I also don't know if J.K. Rowling knew that when she was writing this, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't remember these parts of the book so well with their relationship developing. It's something that I would have to go back and read about. But yeah, regardless, they don't even touch upon the fact that Harry has a crush on Ginny until the 6th book. Because before that, yeah, he's all like, ooh, Cho. And Cho's like, listen, Robert Pattinson's over here, so I'm going to go.
And then whoever Ron dates, that blonde girl for a while.
Yes.
She's another one of the deaths that happens in the movie. And I'm like, what do I care? I'm like, he didn't like her. Maybe if he would have liked her in any way, shape, or form, I'd be like, oh, man.
I mean, he liked her a little bit. It was like his first girlfriend.
Yeah,
but
she did like him a lot. So I don't know. But
the intensity was not matched,
It was not. And then one of the last things I have is the change of directors was a big hit to this franchise. I wish Chris Columbus would have stayed on because those first 2 movies are amazing. They are so good. But it hurts because I think the last one is really good as well. So for me, it's like, man, I don't know who dropped the ball here by not having a consistent director. I mean, no franchise really does have that. So
unless you're Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, but Peter Jackson also brought that to life and ruined it himself. So
The Hobbit, yeah.
He dropped the ball. That's a whole different episode. But yeah,
we'll go to the Shire soon.
I wish that the directors would have been more consistent, or even just the producers being like, hey man, you're going to keep it to the way that Chris Columbus did it. Or I mean, because David Yates did do, like I think he did 5 through 7 or 5 through 8.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, they did look consistent. But 2 of them were consistently boring.
Yeah, they didn't have that world building magic that the first 2 had. And can you argue that it matches the tone of getting more grown up and those magical moments of Diagon Alley are going to diminish? Okay, yeah, but there's still new students coming into Hogwarts. There's still things happening. Like you could have kept some of that tied in with the gloomy adult tone.
Yeah. But what other negatives or positives come with parental guidance, Mommy?
So language is pretty much clean outside of the British term like bloody hell. And then there is one swear word in the Deathly Hallows Part 2 that Mrs. Weasley actually says.
Yeah.
Mudblood is considered a derogatory term. And there's other name calling as well, like you evil little cockroach and things like that. But mostly it's stuff like Slughorn saying Merlin's beard instead of OMG. Like it's pretty safe for kids. Violence, have you been listening to us talk? Definitely, especially in the later movies with the dueling. You have Nagini eating and injuring people, and there are many deaths. We see characters get knocked around and all bloodied up. Harry's punishment from Umbridge in Order of the Phoenix is like body mutilation when the special quill etches the words into his skin. Like, that's some intense stuff.
It is.
We talked about Bellatrix, torturing Hermione. She carves mudblood into her arm, and it's a terrible scene. The Death Eaters light the Weasley house on fire, and then everything about the Triwizard Tournament games in the Goblet of Fire is just violent and intense. It's a lot altogether, but nothing is ever gory, I would say. Scary? Chamber of Secrets shook our girls. We have Mrs. Norris and other people being petrified, and then the basilisk they battle at the end. Voldemort and some characters can be scary and make younger audiences uneasy, but ultimately it's the creatures that'll get you, like the Dementors, the mermaids and dragons in Goblet of Fire, the giant spiders in the Forbidden Forest, and just so much more. Like they're terrifying.
They are scary.
Grown-up stuff, the sacrifices and deaths are just quite heavy for little ones to imagine. Also, Harry being an orphan and being raised in a neglectful, abusive environment is just something that's kind of glazed over. We see crushes and falling in love, and the relationships we see may not fit with younger audiences, but they're on par for those teens and above. We also see a brief scene of covered nudity in the Deathly Hallows Part 1 as Ron sees his worst nightmare of Hermione and Harry together. very weird. Just based off the rest of the franchise.
Definitely
it's the most risque thing that they do.
I can agree with that.
And then there is some alcohol depiction throughout the films, but it is tied mainly with like the 3 broomsticks and being at either a party or a pub. The only person we ever see, I would say, affected by alcohol is Professor Slughorn in The Half-Blood Prince. You know, he's kind of like, oh, hey, how you doing? And spills some of his drink on Hermione.
Yeah.
But again, nothing intense.
No.
Cry factor, I would say Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2 for sure have parts that are going to get you. The first 6 should be tear-free unless you're Maddie for the Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah. Chamber of Secrets part, Snape's reveal, and then...
and that's in Deathly Hallows Part 2, though.
Yes,
so.
And then Dobby passing in Part 1, which we didn't talk about, but...
Those are your big 3.
Yeah, those are your big 3. And then as for an age recommendation, you know your kids better than we do. We're just here to give our opinions. In our Harry Potter 1 episode, I recommended a 5 and up, and that's still true. I'm not going to backtrack on my statement. However, when you get into the Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince, the pacing slows way down, and there's more talking and story exposition than there is broomstick flying and spellcasting. So you'll either have to explain to your kids what's being talked about, skip the movie and go right into the Deathly Hallows, or just hope that they pick up on whatever's being said. I think that a good magic number, pun intended here, for the entire franchise would probably be 10 and up.
But for the most part, I agree. I might argue 8 and up, but I get it. Those last couple movies are pretty dark.
Yes. So Rotten Tomato critics have all of these movies certified fresh. So for the critics, 77% is the lowest with Deathly Hallows 1, and 96% is the highest for Deathly Hallows 2.
Interesting.
Yes. Audiences have the lowest at 74% with Goblet of Fire, which would be... Yes, that would be a thumbs middle. It's the only one that would hit a thumbs middle.
That's blasphemy, but all right, what's the highest?
And then 89%, the highest is Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Okay.
Let's see how it holds up in our house as a franchise. Zosha, as the whole, every Harry Potter movie, do you give it a thumbs up, a thumbs middle, or a thumbs down?
Thumbs middle.
Thumbs middle? Why a thumbs middle?
Because some of them are too violent and some of them are good.
Okay, I get it. You don't like violence. Amelia?
Thumbs up since I like all the movies.
Okay, I get it. Mommy?
I'm going to go thumbs up. I think it's good. I like that it ages with the audience and with the times. I rewatch these movies all the time. So, and again, there's a park dedicated to it. Obviously, they hit some gold here.
They're good dark movies that we turn on at nighttime for sleep.
I love it. What about you, Daddy?
I'm going thumbs middle.
Okay, get out.
The Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince pacing just hurts this franchise too much. But let's see which movie is our favorites. Zosha, out of all the movies, which one is your favorite?
The Prisoner of Azkaban.
That's a very good pick. I like it. Amelia?
I like Chamber of Secrets.
Okay, that's a good one. Mommy?
I like the Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
I like when you see them kind of start becoming teenagers and the ball, the Yuletide ball and everything, and Neville practicing dancing and the Triwizard Cup. I think it's just a very entertaining one. I already know your favorite, but what's your favorite, Daddy?
Which one's my favorite? What do you think?
It's got time travel in it.
Oh, but they did that book dirty, though. It is not. That is not my favorite one.
All right.
It was going to be Goblet of Fire, but I went into this thinking that, and I was like, you know what? I think I like Deathly Hallows Part 2 the best. I think Deathly Hallows Part 2 just has so much more to offer with the big reveals. It's got the finale. Like, I think Deathly Hallows Part 2 is the best one, in my opinion.
Okay. You like the tie-up.
I do.
All right.
And if any of you would like to add any of the Harry Potter movies to your movie night list, they are currently available on Max and Peacock or available across platforms.
And after watching, let us know if you give it thumbs up, thumbs middle, or thumbs down.
And when you want to let us know what you think about the movie, please find us on social media. We like to post pictures of us on our movie nights, letting you know what snacks and sweets we're eating. It's a fun place to hang out.
Our Facebook is It's Movie Night, and our Instagram is It's Movie Night Pod.
Thank you for listening.
Join us next week for another movie night.
Bye.